Should be.
No,
Unmute. I think you're unmuted.
I'm not muted. You're not muted, that's that.
It's on.
No, it's just.
it shows us recording.
This is recording,
All right.
this is on mute. We should be okay.
It's got a line to it.
Okay.
Meeting muted.
So, hit it. Okay, do you want to do this again? Welcome everyone to the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Today is Thursday, September 3rd, 2020, and it's 7:04 in the evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. The first item of business is, let me see, we have all our regular members here. I will say Steve Bayala for the record. All right, on to new business. We have a site plan amendment application of Manafort CLP LLC to replace an existing scale house and add a scale at 415 Christian Lane. Do we have anyone here who would wish to commission regarding this other business?
You do.
All right, terrific.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you today?
I'm well.
Good.
Would you prefer that I set this up?
Anywhere we can see it?
Yeah.
Oh dear, wait a minute.
Wait.
No problem.
Well, while he's setting it
There
up.
we go. There we go.
Oh, and we're back. Hey, would you prefer I keep my mask on when I'm talking?
To tell you the truth, I don't think so,
Okay.
because we have social distancing.
Okay,
here,
excellent,
so make
thank you.
yourself comfortable.
Excellent. Good evening. My name is Matt Brown. I'm principal with Anchor Engineering. We're located in Glastonbury. I'm a registered professional engineer here representing CRP LLC, the applicant's application. As you mentioned, the site is 415 Christian Lane. This is the facility at which CWPM operates a facility in the front and a transfer station in the rear with the up against Route 9 towards the back of the property. Coming in from Christian Lane, which is located over in this direction, trucks and vehicles accessing the rear portion of the site come down through the existing access road, go over an existing scale, which is located here, and then travel back to the facility. And when they leave, they go over the scale again in order to get the weight of the vehicle and the weight of the materials that were deposited at the solid waste facility located in the rear. There's an existing here. In that, what happens there is there's the weighing, the software in the computer displays what the weights are tabulated, billing purposes and record purposes for permit requirement. So this application serves to do two things. Number one, the scale house would be removed from the site. A second scale would be constructed to the north of the existing scale, with the existing scale remaining. Now, in between the two scales would be a new scale house. It's got a slightly larger blow up of the area. So on this plan, you can see the existing scale house here. You can see the existing scale, the proposed new scale house, and then the proposed second scale here. This will allow improved operation. This scale, the new scale, will be for inbound traffic, and the existing scale will be used for outbound traffic only. Having to stop and wait at the scale house while another truck is being weighed. The scale house will be constructed. It will be a wood frame building. Located foundation. The scale at the end of the scale house here, with a scale here and a scale here, will be a deck, covered deck area where operators from the trucks would stop and get their tickets, identifying what their weights are. There'll be a window here where a scale operator would sit, and then a couple of offices, break and storage room, and a bathroom for the house. Other ancillary work associated with the project is just some minor widening of the existing road to allow for the existing scale and bypass of traffic that does not require to go over the scale. So in summary, that's all that is proposed as part of the application. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions?
For whatever it's worth, I've been out there. Sometimes it gets a little, so for a safety standpoint, public and the guys bring the trucks in through, this is a home run.
That's good to know. What else?
Yes,
Mr. Zuma?
this is hard.
No, I just want to make sure that the
Yes.
tape knows who I represent Mr. Wolf.
Yep, the stream, this is the wetland corridor through here, the stream runs underneath the road here, yes.
And get closer to the stream now.
It's actually, this entire area was previously disturbed. There's an area here where my fingers are, that's basically the existing edge of road, and there's an area of bituminous millings that has been here. The road does not encroach any farther out into that area. There's some that will occur in this area purely to balance the cut and fill associated with the project in order to ensure that there's no net increase of fill within the floodplain. And that was all.
I'm just looking for anyone up the brook from the facility that trucks coming in.
Runoff would be, there's no increase in impervious surface as a result of the project. There's no need for mitigation of peak flows. The area along here, the design has been done to promote flow to the extent possible, so we don't have concentrated flow going in. And it's also worth noting that because of the type of facility that this is, stormwater quality is regulated by the state Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, and there are stormwater sampling that happens at the site on a semi-annual basis, actually a quarterly basis. I'm sorry, and any exceedances which we don't know. I don't know myself of the results, but I know they haven't been subject to any notice of violations from the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection as a result.
The other question.
Right here,
It's supposed to be. This is one continuous property.
Out in the back.
And then the dump itself.
Yep.
Been on this commission years ago. The basement on that dump is out of what we recommended that higher than it was supposed to be. Maybe 10 years, and they cut it down a little bit and topped it. But then they put machine drill trucks, box. The elevation of that piece of the property was not supposed to be higher than Route 9. That's the elevation we set at. Whatever Route 9 is. So there is a violation there right now. Once you bring this in, and you overlook the whole piece of property. I'd like to see that violation corrected. It's been years. The elevation is way above the rule. I don't know. I'm with scale house. I know it needs to scale out. I've been there myself. It's right. I know it needs to scale out.
There's no
Elevations
issues.
are high.
The landfill was closed under DEP.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, just because we have to keep the record straight.
Sure, I'm
Are
David
you part
Manafort.
of the applicant as well?
Yes, I'm David Manafort, I'm the owner.
Okay, so Dave, just for the record, can I have you, if you can just come around
Sure.
to the record
Sure.
up? Sorry, not trying to difficult. Thank you, Mr. Mann.
The landfill was closed under DEP for 20 years ago.
Yes.
And it's per the design plan. There's no elevations that are higher than the DEP approved us to close it.
This commission proved different height. Okay. This commission was basically at Route 9 elevation, same as the waste control that came in had massive sewer thing filled in. Same elevation. So that was not supposed to be hired in '09. I understand that DEP.
I'd be happy to share those drawings with you guys.
Because of violation of contract. But, it doesn't meet our.
I don't believe that there are many active notice of non-compliance or notice of violation in town that have been provided to the applicant.
And that was closed over 20 years ago.
Okay. All right, I do remember, the meeting with Tim, I was on the commission at the time, so I do remember there being discussion. However, I think it would be up to staff, to say whether or not there was any notice of violation. Were you aware of anything?
I am not aware of anything, but it wasn't something that I searched for either.
Okay.
So
I would, I would
look for.
Yeah,
ask
you can take a
staff
look.
to investigate.
Yeah.
Because I know they cut the hill down, they did, and they capped it.
Yeah, I do remember them doing that. Yeah.
Right.
So-
But the elevation is still higher than what the town.
Yeah, see, I thought that they had remedy, with the cotton and whatnot.
So, if you don't mind,
And that would be
it's
from the
been,
building.
20 years since it's been capped by the DEP.
That's correct.
Being that it is a landfill, probably going back into that, you could be opening up Pandora's box, would probably be better, I'd say, the DEP has moved in. So, it's my
I agree.
satisfaction.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree. Absolutely.
Right, and we're talking scale house night, something that happened 20 years ago.
20 years ago, nobody's filed a complaint at that time.
Exactly.
We're not dealing with facts, we're dealing with evidence.
Yeah.
So,
We're dealing with facts, facts are.
Yeah.
The fact is that it was solved 20 years ago by the state, so why would we not know the scale house? That's the facts.
Well, I mean, Tim brings up a very valid point. I think Maureen will just take another look at the records. She stated that there was no current outstanding notice that, raise or red flag this application.
so,
I mean, so I would have to go with whatever.
I just don't like.
Yes.
I don't
Well,
like
and I think that she
exacerbating
will-
the problem, but.
Well, why don't we just move on since we know
Yes.
we can have it addressed,
All right,
and
well-
taken care of, we can talk this, that,
Yeah.
talk about the scale house. I don't know about
yes,
20
let's
years.
get back on.
If I may, for a matter of procedure. So if we found a violation that was unassociated with certain types of applications, depends on the type of application, but we sever them, and it will, if acceptable to the commission, we'll address that as a reported zoning violation and follow that course of action if it needs to be, or if it's, hasn't met a statute of limitations or something either, who knows? Some other superseding legislation, and, the scale house could be dealt with as a separate matter, is my understanding of this situation, because it's not dealing with the same part of the, or same activities
Yeah.
on the property. But again, I
So-
defer to the commission
That would certainly be
to
preferred.
understand.
So in just dealing with the
The scale house.
the scale house and the site plan amendment on the table, if anybody has a disagreement, we know that our next week.
All right,
Can
No,
I,
hang on.
can I make a staff comment
Yes,
on this? On the original plan, from 2005, I think it was. There were, when they improved at some point a number of years ago, the previous plan showed parking spaces along behind the existing scale house. They're not marked on this plan, although the applicants have expressed they do exist there. They're not on the plan. I would like to add getting a revised plan that shows the parking, and subject to the wetlands agent saying it doesn't affect their approval, which it's on the opposite side of the activity from the wetlands, so it shouldn't, but that's their call, and I'd like to add that condition if I can.
all right, so,
I would like to revise my motion then to include staff.
okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Overstreet, we have a second by Mr. Bayala, who's now joining the meeting somewhere around 7:10 this evening, so thank you. Yeah, I know. Do we have further discussion or questions? No? And hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So moved.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank you very much.
you. Have a good night.
You too.
Absolutely. All right, now-
Excuse me.
Yes,
Hi, I'm trying to attend by phone because I can't get WebEx to load and the sound quality is really bad. I don't know if there's a way to move the phone closer to everyone because I can only get about every sixth word or so, unless people talk very loudly.
if you'll, give me a minute, I'll move the.
Yes,
All right,
Sure.
we'll do our best. Thank you.
thank you for letting us know.
Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, also, just so you know, it's not viewable in your browser. That doesn't work, so.
Can't go much further, you're gonna pull everything out. right?
No, there is some room. And I think if we don't have him put his screen, you know, they were also standing here with their back.
All right. Are we ready to continue? Maureen?
I'm sorry,
Are we ready to?
I believe so.
Okay.
I did get confirmation from another staff person that they are viewing it online, so maybe an issue with
Okay,
some browsers.
all right. So the second item under your new business is the Carrier Enterprises Incorporated has applied for a site plan approval to construct a single-family dwelling on lot 19, map 11-3, block 132, Bentley Road, with an access easement over the property identified as Lot B, Ledge Drive. And do we have anyone here for this app?
If I may,
Yes.
this application requested a continuance to the meeting on the 17th. The participant was going to be away.
Okay, till the 17th, so.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry, I thought the agenda got.
No, that's okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Zigma. Do we have a second? A second by Mr. Dorsey. Further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So moved. On to the hearings, but before we begin them, I'll ask the secretary, Mr. Rogan, to read the call of the public hearing.
Legal notice, Town of Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission, notice of public hearings. The Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission will hold its regular meeting on Thursday, September 2020 at 7 p.m. in person at the Board of Education Conference Room located in the Board of Education Administrative Offices at 238 Bennington Road, Berlin, in the rear lower level of Berlin Town Hall. The public will also be able to access and participate in the meeting via WebEx video conference and conference call as provided below. Therefore, the public may attend the meeting in person via WebEx video conference or via conference call. The following public hearing will commence at 7 p.m., at which time an opportunity will be given to those who wish to be heard relative to the following items. A, special permit / site plan applications of Marhan Jan,
Sikonjani.
I'm sorry for butchering that,
That's
for Barber Academy and Barbershop at 1427 Berlin Turnpike, rescheduled from August 20th, 20. B, special permit / applications of Thomas O'Rourke Military Experience Museum Incorporated for Military Experience Museum at 76 Chamberlain Highway, map 30-2, lot 74, lot 37, and 0 Chamberlain Highway and 0 Chamberlain Highway, map 30-2, block 74, lot 39, rescheduled from August 20th, 20. Brian Rogan, Secretary, Planning and Zoning Commission, posted in the Town Clerk Office, August 25th, 2020.
All right, thank you, Brian. Into the public hearing we go. First item is the special permit application of Mirhan Sikonjani for Barber Academy and Barbershop at 1427 Berlin Turnpike. Do we have something for the applicant?
Should be by video.
Oh,
I believe he had to go
okay.
to children this evening, but
Let me unmute users so that we can.
Okay,
he's there and he asked me to fill in any blanks that you guys have.
all right.
You're gonna ask if you participated?
Is Mr. Mirhan Sekunjani on the line with us,
Or his brother Admir,
or his brother
Admir, Admir.
Admir? Admir. If you are, can you please unmute so we can hear you? Do we have either Mirhan Sekunjani or Admir on the line?
All the participants.
I think so.
So,
All right, Chris is we're trying to contact the applicant so that he knows he's up. Maybe there are also problems. Told you so. I can't get anything done.
Well, the agenda had last week's meeting, or the August 20th.
That's why we couldn't get to it. Oh, we couldn't get to it.
No.
What? You part of this?
We have several people that logged in using the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, any luck at your end?
I just sent him a text message, I tried to call. This is personal cell, my Berlin cell died, so I'm trying to.
Yeah, I guess we could just delay this or
What's
go on to the
up the agenda?
Yeah.
part. We can-
We can bring it back.
All right, Maureen, that's what we're gonna do. Okay,
See
yes.
if I didn't think I was sharing my screen, but, I just wanted to see if, I had an email from somebody saying,
Okay,
trying to
no,
get in,
no,
and I don't.
All right.
Voicemails.
All right, so we're in public hearing, so I'll tell you, do we need a motion to, bring up another item on the agenda to sort of pass this one over and come back to it?
You can just delay it and come
All right.
back to it.
Okay, all right, so that's what we'll do. So we'll move on to item B, which is the special permit and application of Thomas O'Rourke Military Experience Museum Incorporated for a military experience museum at 76 Chamberlain Highway, to be map 30-2, block 74, lot 37, and 0 Chamberlain Highway, and 0 Chamberlain Highway, map 30-2, block 74, 30, lot 39. This was also rescheduled from August 20th, 2020. Is there anyone here to address us from the military experience?
Yes.
Oh, hi, okay. Yes, that's okay, fine. We can hear you better that
All
way.
right, I'm Tom O'Rourke, president of the Military Experience Museum.
Okay.
Good evening. So I'll admit I'm new to this, so I put in the special permit request. I think we talked about, I brought this up previously. I'm not sure, it was my understanding you have my narrative on behalf of looking for the permit on this.
Okay. All right, well, then I guess we'll go, is there anything that you would like to point out? I know that we do have the narrative as far as, we have this map here, and, oops, this one.
I just got I just received the notes today on, from the staff notes.
Yes,
So I did briefly go through them. I didn't have a chance to go in detail.
This approval starts with this meeting as opposed to what they discussed at a previous meeting, that you present what your So like your PowerPoint that you
Okay.
provided, you present what will be happening on the site so that the questions can be asked to lead to the full proposal.
Okay,
I know it'll take a little longer, but the way to do a public hearing.
okay, I understand.
Thank you, Maureen.
Military Experience Museum is a 503 nonprofit. We're looking to set up a military experience field at the above location, which was previously mentioned, off of Chamberlain Highway. Berlin zoning is Mountain Reserve 1, which allows camps and nonprofit organizations with special permit. The access and parking area will be off of Chamberlain Highway through the driveway, approximately across from 2590 Chamberlain Highway. The current road driveway is gravel and dirt as well. Proposal is for outdoor recreation will include orienteer using compass and or GPS locations, military style course. We're hoping for approximately 2.5K in length on the foot trails located on the 77-acre site. Military area bases, battlefield recreations from World War II to present day, which can be changed based on anniversary or commemorative battles or wars. The plan is to have an open museum, members and public on weekends and some holidays on a year-round basis, weather permitting. We could rent exhibits, attractions to private groups on available days. Example, Boy or Girl Scouts looking to have educational experience, World War Vietnam era bases. Traffic and parking will mainly occur on weekends and holidays or is rented out special occasions. Conceptual plan has allocated 32 parking spaces. Property does include a large grass field that could be used for special occasions, overflow parking as needed. As noted, the military museum that closed in Danbury 2017 had 10 parking spaces. As a side note that's not mentioned here, our site plan and site survey was done by Connecticut. Connecticut Consulting Engineers out of Meriden. They were familiar with the property. A site plan was submitted to the town with our application. Going back to my narrative, the traffic would be expected on the weekend. Arrivals and departure will be varied based on how long it takes for complete activities. Staging area sign in, registration to be on site would be used as location for staff checking in guests, visitors to the site. The area will be used to provide maps, compasses, and other related gear, rental equipment for people looking to participate in activities. It was previously asked at one prior, it was back in May, if we were looking for a liquor permit. We're not currently looking for a liquor permit and are not currently setting up a patio with seating. That may change in the future. Point, we're not looking to do that. Current property already has areas cleared along unimproved dirt and gravel roads. These cleared areas would be set up as military style and exhibits. The property currently has trails and footpaths that would be utilized. There's a gate at the entrance that will be fixed. It's currently down. It's off its hinges and to the side. We'll have that fixed so the entrance can be locked. The layout of the property will have very limited impact as it's not really, the museum is working with property owners for a 2-year lease with renewal options to make sure that this museum and concept work and is viable. Because of this, we were looking to use a staging area for mostly weekend events, option with portable restrooms and cleaning stations. The overall goal is to create a destination where people can come, become interested in military history and adventure through participation. We feel this will bring in visitors from other states, as well as states that is a unique location, not available in any of the surrounding states. So that was my July 23rd. I followed up on August 25th. There were some questions from planning and zoning, staff comments on an email I received on July 31st. Building asked about any structures, whether existing or new, would require a building department review. Museum understands this, and we will work with the building department. Current plan is not to have any permanent structures on the property. We will work with building officials to meet all state and local requirements for any mobile office or containers used at the sign-in location. Plan would be to have limited storage and equipment on site for orienteering, compass, orienteering cards, GPS, etc. Obstacle course, ropes, cargo net that we can store, military reenactment, simulation props, and we would also need cleaning supplies due to the COVID situation. A tow behind trailer would be brought on site daily with, daily when the location is open, with equipment including office equipment such as a laptop, printer, and other material needed to sign people in. Registration and waivers would be signed online to reduce transfer and use of paper. This also allows us for traceability of who's been on site, as the COVID situation and needing traceability of who's been on site at what time. We would have that through registrations of people online. We'd be able to capture name, phone number, email, any other address, so that we know where they came from. If there ever was a situation, we have traceability back. Question came up from Water Control Commission, needs to be involved in any potential water supply may be needed for the project. Applicant has not addressed the need and use of water and sewer. This may be a public water system for Connecticut Department of Health definitions. We will be using porta potties and wash stations since these are planned to have permanent building on site at this time. We do not plan on using well water at this time. There's no city water or town water or sewer located near the property. I did speak to the water commissioner and he understood during my phone conversation with him. He stated that if we did have well, we would have to have testing. We would look at that in the future if we went into a situation with a permanent building on site. Inland wetlands, asked for an evaluation and testing required. They also asked for a grading plan, topo map required to properly evaluate potential impact. I sent back the site plan, the town GSI wetland area, the town GSI topo map, which shows that not within 100 feet, 150 feet of any of the wetland area that's on the property. Going back to the narrative, the museum does not have any current plans to grading, changing topography of the property, no alteration to drainage patterns. The property already has unimproved roads and clearings that we plan to utilize as is, no planned activity in the regulated wetland area. The closest area that will be utilized will be the staging area, which is over 150 feet from the wetland area as seen on the town map. Finally, the narrative plan is to open an outdoor education, recreational museum experience. Our motto is to educate through participation, get off the couch and into the action. And invest money. Property owners agree. We've come to an agreement for a 2-year lease on the property to see if the concept will work out. The plan is to have activities that can bring multiple revenue sources, example, orienteering courses, obstacle course, military reenactment, and simulation, versus relying solely on donations to fund an educational museum. Many nonprofits are struggling and closing museums in closing, and museums are at the top of the list of these closures. Museums have found a need to be more interactive and bring new and exciting activities to get people to visit more often than once. Many static museums in particular struggle and often close, which is what happened to Danbury Military Museum in 2017. People visit once, maybe twice. Once they see the displays, display items, there's limited reason to go back. Most people go to new locations, things. Museums across the nation are changing to incorporate activity for visitors. People get involved, change the scenario regularly so that when visitors come back, they have a new experience. Since it is trial lease with the option to extend, the museum has agreed with no permanent structures first few years to see if the museum can be self-sufficient and grow. At the end of the 2 years, the determination will be made to continue and hopefully expand. If the museum is viable at the location, we'll be able to work with the property owners on a permanent building. The museum will work with the town and all proper building and grading requirements at that time.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes, Maureen.
We've called to our attention that some people are having trouble with the WebEx link. So I've been in contact with our corporation counsel, and she has suggested we suspend the meeting for a few minutes, 5 to 10, so that we can make sure the dial-in is working for the phones.
All right.
If you can.
Do we need a motion?
Motion
To suspend.
adjourn for 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, 8 minutes, choose a time.
Yeah. Mr.
I'll make a
Woolman has the
motion to
motion.
suspend the meeting until 7:50.
7:50, and second by Mr. Worston. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Good news is, the
Oh, I
barber
can't wait.
guy should be here about 7:50, 7:55.
Okay, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. No, yeah, the one brother who was on the other end of WebEx wasn't here, the other guy happened to be close.
It's just not my day. It's not my week. It's
You
not
said it right when you got it.
Okay, I have resumed the recording.
Okay, thank you. And welcome everyone back to the planning and zoning meeting as we resume. We don't need a motion. Do we need a motion to come out of the recess? No? Yeah. Better?
I think it's better to.
Yeah.
I'll
Mr.
make a
Woolman.
motion to come out of the recess.
Thank you, Mr. Aiello, a second. Okay, so that's it. All right, so we're back with the, yeah. All those in favor, aye. Okay, everyone's in favor. Nobody's opposed, everyone wants to move on. Okay, so we're back discussing the presentation for the military style experience museum. All right, so thank you, Mr. Miller, for staying with us. Okay, was there, where we left off with the presentation, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Over the narratives, there was a presentation. For me to continue to go through all this paperwork, this was posted online.
To the meeting, voice only. Can't make
Okay, I'm
It's-
sorry.
It's up to you guys if you want me to continue going through the packet. It was posted online. I can continue to read through this.
Okay,
Or I can address other issues.
okay. So that pretty much just wraps up the first part of the presentation.
I guess I would,
Okay, and then it's just up to us.
I can continue. I have a lot. We can spend all night. I don't. There's a lot of information. There was some concerns that came in that I'd be more than happy to address. I think that may take care of whether I go through the presentation or address some of the concerns. Some of the concerns were addressed in the presentation.
Well,
Although,
I do know that we do have some members of the public that are waiting online, and also we had some correspondence that have to be read into record as well. Should we do the reading of the correspondence first, or should we go to the public hearing? Okay.
I think it's kind of your choice, although I think if you read some of the correspondence, it may raise the issues that prompt the questions to be addressed, and maybe public questions won't repeat the correspondence if it's the same question.
All right. That's what we'll do. Ryan, you're on.
All right. Hi, friends. I understand the proposal for the Military Experience Museum is on the agenda for tonight's P&Z. At this point, we do not have an alternate route for the New England Trail. I have not confirmation from the city of Meriden that they will entertain a trail relocation on their property. If you are considering moving forward with the NEM project, I would formally request that you make a successful relocation of the trail a condition of approval of their application. New England Trail is, as you know, a national scenic trail and is outlined in the town DOT as an asset and a priority. If the trail is severed by this proposal, trail continue and will be compromised. Thank you for your consideration. Claire Kane, Trail Stewardship Director, Connecticut Forest and Park Association, 16 Meriden Road, Rockfall, Connecticut, 06481 860-346 tree. CC Kane at ctwoodlands.org, www.ctwoodlands.org.
Can I just, what was the date of that email or correspondence? Because I've never seen that.
September 3rd, 20th, 3:25 p.m.
Okay.
Off the
At 3:20?
3:25 p.m.
Okay.
Next one from Claire Kane, sent Wednesday, May 6, 2020, 9:07 a.m. to Jim Mahoney, and Carl Lewis, CC, Andrzejewski, subject, Military Museum site proposal near net. Hi, gang. I am almost positive that the trail does go through this area. I will do a double check today. One of the reasons we talked about relocating it was to move off this part because it was private property and could potentially be developed, which I guess is what is being proposed. I checked the presentation, which I found a bit intense, but with their focus on recreation and as a fellow profit, I wonder if we can work together and coexist on this property. It sounds like there might be a possibility of an overnight site for through hikers based on their camp option. If the military history piece was fully in place, I could see that being of interest along the trail, maybe a side trail that takes you down into that area. You know, if they are aware of the net, they may view it as an asset.
I mean, that was part of, you know, a chain of back and forth of hello and, you know, whatever plan, et cetera. So I think that those are their comments. If that's the end of her comment, I think there might be another sentence too, but if that's the end of her comment, the rest of it is email chain of here's the plan, here's the map, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it goes, since it goes back in time.
Yes, and it goes back in time, and that was all part of the discussion prior to the discussion item in May.
Feel like we need to
And
continue
so
reading.
I don't believe the rest of that email is pertinent. I think that was their report.
Okay, so I can leave.
Followed up
this.
by today's email on her email.
Yeah.
That would all be together, and then they go to a different correspondence.
Okay, so I'm done with that then?
Yeah. That's the point.
I'm good with that.
All right,
A lot more though.
all right.
That one was in the package, so.
All right, the next one. Berlin Land Trust Inc.
Can I address this one, or do you want me to wait until everything's read into the record?
Staff?
The chairman's choice.
Well, I think you should read it into records, so this way
Okay.
we'll know what you would be addressing.
Okay.
Oh, he's asking me who wants to address the last one, right?
Yeah, you talk about the last record, last
The one from Claire?
Yes.
Okay, if you want to address it at this point, sure.
I did send Claire an email. It was in July. But in regards to her email on May 6th, she does, although this trail does go through this property, She does admit it is going through private property. She also submitted a map that shows, and it says future trail going back to 2014. So they've known for over 6 years, and probably even longer, that that their trail, although it is a national trail, I guess, it is going through private property. They do not have permission from, according to the property owners, Carabetta, they do not have permission to be on this property. So she admits in her email that they know it should be moved. They've known since 2014 for 6 years that it should have been moved, and nothing's been done about it, even though it's going through private property with no permissions from the property owner. So I think that is a factor. As far as being able to move it over onto open space in Meriden, I think when you read the letter from Berlin Land Trust, you'll see that he mentions the trail on open space. This is private property, so there is a difference. So I just wanted to get that into the record that the Trail Association knows it's on private property. They've known it, known they should have moved it. They haven't done anything, and now they're asking for part of our special permit approval to be attached to them moving the trail. So I just want to get that on the record that I apologize.
I was gonna say, no, we got talk so here, I'm going.
So if
I thought my snake was ready to fly. It's the same sound.
So I can address that further, but I would like to point that I did get on the record, I feel, that although in the email I did say that we would work with her, our concern is mainly based on regulation. If somebody gets hurt on that property, our insurance is the one that gets in trouble. When it's open space, they're covered. If somebody gets hurt on private property and I'm insuring the property, and this was my explanation to her in an email, if somebody comes on that property and it goes right along the cliff line there, if somebody gets hurt, somebody falls off, who do they come after? The person who's renting the property. How do I know whether that person was mine or not? I'm going to have to say, okay, well, they're trespassing. So having a public trail on private property, the insurance company is going to say, hey, there's an issue here. How are we going to get waived? Are we going to get a waiver for anyone going on that trail? Okay, who gets hurt? Are we going to get some type of waiver, or are they going to insure anyone on the property who goes on there? If they get hurt, we're not responsible for them. Part of our thing, which was read previously, anyone of our people who come on, we're going to have registration and they're going to be waiver. So we're going to have a hold harmless agreement that they sign, and they're going to have a waiver, and our insurance is going to cover any of that activity. We're not covering a private trail, a trail going through the property. I don't think on our part to be responsible as a nonprofit. Yes, we will work with them, but I think that they've known, they've agreed, according to her email, that they should have moved it. Will we give them time? Absolutely. We'll work with them to move. They can come through there if there's some type of agreement that we're not responsible for the people. So that would be my part on the Trail Association.
Thank you.
All right. Berlin Land Trust Incorporated, September 1st, 2020, Joan Beely, Chairman, members of the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission, Berlin Town Hall, 240 Cottington Road, Berlin, Connecticut, 06037. The special permit application of Military Experience Museum Incorporated dated May 20th, 2020. Dear Ms. Beely and members of the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission, Berlin Land Trust Incorporated, BLT, has examined the application of the Military Experience Museum for a special permit to operate military training and experience camp/museum for its members and guests. On behalf of the board of directors of the BLT, I oppose this application in its present form. This special permit application of the Military Experience Museum, dated May 20, 2020, requests that the Berlin Planning and zoning commission grant a special permit pursuant to section 12 and section 13 of the Berlin zoning regulation. This application applies to map lot 30-2-74-37, 56.7 acres, and map lot 30-2-74-39, 18.3 acres. Chamberlain. The land in question is zoned MR-1. This special permit application is based on the Berlin zoning regulation 5B. Section 5B allows for the zone MR-1 as a special permit. All uses permitted in the R86, R43, R21, R15 districts. Section 6.f and section 6.p provide the basis, therefore, the special permit application. Section 6F allows day camps as a special permit. A copy of section 6F is attached here too as Schedule A. Schedule 6P allows certain events of nonprofit civic organizations to qualify as a special permit use. A copy of section 6P is attached to Schedule B. BLT is opposed to the said application on Military Museum Inc. for reasons. First, a special permit for purposes stated by the applicant is not allowed under zoning regulations of the town of Berlin. Second, BLT believes that the granting of a special permit will expose large tracts of dedicated open space to possible environmental abuse by officers, members, and guests of the applicant. Third, BLT has environmental concerns about plastic/foam pellets to be used by. Fourth, the proposed parking is inadequate for the purposes stated in the application. Our argument follows. 1. There is no basis for the special permit being sought by the applicant under the Berlin zoning regulation. The applicant's reliance on sections 6F and 6P of the planning and zoning application as the basis for its application for a special permit is clearly misplaced. First, the day camps can obtain a special permit. Section 6F must be on a campsite not smaller than 10 acres. A maximum of 400 persons is permitted in any such camp. Approved areas are described as camping or picnic areas, playgrounds, or sports areas. What does it sound like? A traditional day camp with youthful campers operating in the summer. This analysis comports with the definitions of relevant terms found in section 2B of the Berlin zoning regulations. A campground is any parcel intended to be used by campers, occupancy by tent or recreational vehicle. A campsite is the space reserved for a single tent or temporary structure. The pending application of the Military Experience Museum Inc. describes the intended use as outdoor recreation and orienteering towards a military-style obstacle course on foot trails located within the site and battlefield. This description of the intended activities of the applicant does not even closely approximate the concepts of a day camp allowed as a special permit under section 6F of the Berlin zoning regulation. Section 6P of the Berlin zoning regulations can be loosely called Berlin Lions Club or Berlin Fair, exception to the zoning rules and regulations. This section allows for the use of residentially zoned properties on at least 25 acres in size if owned by a nonprofit organization and if for a major charitable event. It clearly does not apply to the instant application. Not only must the applicant for such a special permit be a nonprofit organization, but it also must reapply for the special permit yearly. Of course, this section allows for the Planning and Zoning Commission to exercise some control over large periodic or annual events taking place in residential zones such as the Berlin Fair. The applicant of the Military Experience Museum Inc. cannot benefit from this section in a special permit. Its intended use is clearly inapplicable to this section. This training camp and education activities which it describes are not annual or periodic in scope. These activities are daily but may be increased on the weekends. The fact that the applicant is a nonprofit corporation just like the Berlin Lions is irrelevant. Therefore, there is no basis under zoning regulation of the town of Berlin for granting of this application by Military Experience Museum Inc. for special permit. 2, the potential for this misuse and abuse of major conservation acres to the north and east of this site is great. What is particularly troubling to the Berlin Land Trust is about this application is the potential spillover of these military type training activities into hundreds of acres of town open space situated to the north and east of the premises. Any type of quasi-military boot camp style training involves IPSO facto, the use of trails or even woodlands for marching, maneuvering, etc. That type of activity can be destructive to the environment. It can also disturb the hikers who normally traverse the trails in a town-owned open space. Unless prohibited, it is reasonable to assume that these activities will spill over into the adjacent open space areas. These types of activities are inconsistent with the preservation of open space. Therefore, any zoning amendment allowing military-style education and campground must clearly limit any such uses to the land subject to the special permit and not permit the applicant by its actions to extend the property to which the special permit applies. All training activities of any type must be limited solely to the premises benefiting from the special permit. Of additional concern is the potential use of motorized vehicles such as ATMs. These vehicles must be strictly limited to trails situated on the premises subject to the special permit. Under no circumstance should the vehicles be permitted on adjacent properties in open space. These concerns should not be described as a policing problem. Our police do not have the time or the vehicles to successfully patrol our open space areas. Rather, the misuse of adjacent land by the visitors, members or officers of the applicant should be regarded as a violation of the conditions set by the Maryland Zoning Commission, which, if not corrected, will lead to a revocation of the special permit under section 12 of the Berlin zoning regulations. In other words, this problem is and shall remain a zoning issue. The potential use of plastic or foam pellets as part of quasi-military training poses as an environmental hazard. Any type of military exercises or training must IPSO in facto involve guns and rifles using pellets, BB type plastic/foam. The website of the Military Museum indicates that part of the education experience involved weapons using pellets or BBs, plastic/foam. These synthetic pellets can be dangerous for the environment. They cannot be picked up or retrieved. Smaller animals will ingest them, and then the synthetic material will pass up the food chain and affect all the animals. From the point of view of the environment, the only acceptable pellets are biodegradable pellets, which have been tested by a U.S. accredited lab and which conform to the EU standard EN 13432. Of course, even the biodegradable pellets can pose a threat during the time it takes for them to degrade. Therefore, in response to this concern, BLT strongly recommends that if approval is granted for the special permit request by the application to the special permit, the applicant or its successor to the special permit be required to be only biodegradable pellets tested by a U.S. accredited lab and approved by an appropriate state or federal authority. The applicant or its successor should be required to annually take state oath under oath that only such biodegradable pellets are being used. 4, the parking arrangement suggested in the application is inadequate. No parking is allowed on the Chamberlain Highway. In its application, the military experience indicates that it will only invite the exhibits and attractions. However, the applicant provides only 32 parking spaces and refers to a large open field which can be used for parking. 32 spaces for parking is clearly inadequate if the public is to be invited to events or view exhibits. The overflow parking must be dealt with as part of the application. Will it be? How many cars can it hold? What type of access is established? Because of the nature of the activities and the possible environmental impact of vehicles on the site, the applicant should establish parking arrangements that will not adversely affect the environment and will accommodate a reasonable amount of vehicles. BLT suggests that the planning and zoning consider the use of gravel parking instead of asphalt. Conclusions. For the reasons stated above, the BLT objects to the aforesaid special permit application of the Military Experience Museum dated May 20th, 2020. Again, if the application is granted, special concern must be taken that as stated conditions of the special permit, no activities will be conducted outside the permitted area and only biodegradable pellets meeting federal and or state requirements will be used by the applicant and its successors, its members, officers, and its guests. Respectfully submitted, Dennis L. Curran, its president. Included afterwards, he has the regulation stapled to the record as well.
we do, but we will note that Schedule A is the regulation regarding day camps. Schedule B is for nonprofits, organizations. So he's attached those as Schedule A and B. Is there
There is
anything else, Brian?
two more, but with that applicant, respond to that.
Okay.
That one, I'd like to go with the other ones first because that one is exceptionally long and there are quite a few inact.
From Thomas Ottoman to Friday, August 2020, 6:34 a.m. to M. Justi, C.C. Femnowski, Planning and Zoning Meeting September 3rd, subject Planning and Zoning Meeting September 3rd, 2020. Hello, Ms. Justi and Ms. Semenowski. I am in regard to the special permit application by Thomas O'Rourke of the Military Museum Incorporated. I am opposed to granting the special permit for the following reasons. One, we are in a pandemic. The application proposes activities that will bring groups of people here from other parts of Connecticut and from other states. I'm concerned that the influx of people at this time might increase our risk of exposure to COVID-19 as these visitors may patronize local businesses. Two, this property abuts conservation land which is owned by the town of Berlin. I am worried about the effects of military reenactments on wildlife in the area. The applicant hopes to be able to use blank fire weapons at times. I am concerned that their use will be disruptive to wildlife, especially in denning and nesting areas. Three, I am concerned about the biodegradable BBs or pellets that will be used in airsoft weapons. Airsoft weapons indicate that these BBs degrade within 45 to 150 days. That seems like a long time. I'm concerned that wild animals might mistake these pellets. They are spears that are 6 millimeters in diameter, the size of some berries. Wikipedia indicates that some are made from corn products. It is possible that they might smell like food to the wildlife. There may be a lot of pellets on the ground after a season of activity on the property. A long period of degradation will probably mean that there are BBs on the ground in the winter when food may be scarce. I was on specific references to wildlife eating airsoft pellets. I did find information on conservation websites about animals eating lead shot, all manner of trash, and all manner of trash left by humans, which the results can be disastrous. Or, I don't know what kind of activities take place on the adjoining of Berlin land. I also don't have experience with the activities proposed in this application. Is there a possibility that Berlin residents using town property will be alarmed by the noise of the requested weapons? Is there a chance of accidental injury to people or wildlife from airsoft pellets? C, is there a chance that enthusiastic participants will accidentally move onto the conservation land during their exercises? D, are there any fire hazards in the proposed activities? E, will there be water supply on the property? Thank you for the opportunity to express these concerns. Sincerely, Melissa Davis, 53 Rescue Cares, Berlin. I have one more letter after that.
All righty.
No, might as well go ahead.
Okay. From Karen Piaro, Thursday, September 3rd, 2020, 3:41 p.m. M. Justi, military subject, military museum concerns. Dear, I have reservations about the proposed military museum. I do not feel that the proposal is in keeping with the plan of conservation, and as such, create issues related to activities such as noise from the guns, ATV activity, especially if said traveler travels over open space as it has caused problems with the trails in the past. How would overnight activities be regulated? Will there be noise complaints? Will there be trash and litter left on open space property? There's certainly the possibility of creating environmental hazards related to the use of plastic or foam pellets as part of the military exercise. Our town is fortunate to have beautiful open spaces that many residents take advantage of. It would not be beneficial to see encroachment onto town open space land and the possibility of damaging said property. Sincerely, Karen A. Ag.
Okay, that's the last one. Thank you. going back to the applicant, Mr. O'Rourke, would you
Okay.
like to address any of those concerns?
Sure. Unfortunately, I did Claire's letter that came in today at 3:25, and Karen's letter, I apologize, I didn't get her last name, that came third at 3:41. I did not get copies of these, so I tried to make some notes as you were going through. She mentioned noise from the guns. One of the, so go back to the presentation that's been on the public, it's been on the website. We're planning on using airsoft replicas. They are replicas of real guns, but they use airsoft as they mentioned. They make about the same noise as like a paintball gun. These are not live guns. We did mention that we would have the opportunity to have reenactments on the property a couple times a year. These would, if allowed, we would like the option to allow these reenactors to use blank fire guns. So yes, they would make noise. These would be scheduled events. They would take place during the day. These are events that take place in Connecticut and all over the country. It's part of living history. Everything goes back from Revolutionary War. They have Civil War reenactments, World War II reenactments. Because of our museum starting at World War II, we'd be looking at going World War II up to more present day. So this is not something that's going to happen every weekend. On a regular basis, we did identify that we would like to use the airsoft guns, which are quiet in overall aspect. I find it hard to believe that's even going to leave the property. As I said, they're about the same as a paintball. They use the same mechanism as far as compressed air that expels these BBs. In our presentation that we put forward, we did specify that the museum would require biodegradable pellets only. That was an agreement that we had with the property owners as far as being able to utilize. That's an agreement we talked about. Both of them did mention that. Mrs. Davis brought up, well, I'll go through her. She brought up about the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, we would have travelers from around the state and other states. What we can do, be looking at taking it actually is a Connecticut regulation, so people can come to Connecticut from other states. That's not a restriction. Do they come and patronize local businesses? In all honesty, I hope they do. Are they? Do they have COVID-19 exposure? That's any business is taking that risk. We're hoping that we can be a destination location that will increase business for the town of Berlin. That would actually be one of the benefits of having us. Property abuts conservation land. Number 2, property abuts conservation land, which is owned by the town of Berlin. That is along the north side. The approximate, it's less than 500 feet. I used the GSI, and I came up with 488 feet on the north side of Berlin open space that abuts this property. There is a gravel dirt road that does go from one property into the open space property. that, we can put up some type of, delineation between the two. I'm not sure exactly what will be required. We can put up signs. In all honesty, I'd be hesitant to put up a fence. We can put up a gate there, which would restrict the ATVs and the motorcycle, dirt bikes that currently use the property on a regular basis from going and using that area. I do find it interesting that they talk about ATVs when that area is currently used on a regular basis for ATVs and dirt bikes. I think by having the museum on the property and regulating the opening at the entrance there, we actually could reduce some of that. She had concerned about inflatable BBs. They are designed specifically to go into the environment. It depends on the BB itself, how long it takes to degrade. There are other factors as far as water, soil, and sunlight. Those are some of the factors that are associated with the BB degrading and going into the property. As far as it being products, there are corn starches, there are other natural products that these things are made out of. That is true. Part of the reason she hasn't been able to find a study on wildlife mishaps with these is just like anything, it's a biodegradable, it's a natural product. And in a biodegradable pellet is extremely different. Lead shot, yes, there is a major problem with it. We're not using lead, we're not using any metal. So I find us using biodegradable BBs that will dissipate into the soil during natural circumstances on the private property. As far as the open space, as I said, Berlin has about 500 feet abutting the north side. So we could do something to address that. I understand that if that's part of the application process, the approval process, that we have the delineation. If you put up a fence, I would be a little bit. I think when you put up a fence, you're restricting wildlife movement. As far as putting a gate across the dirt road, I think that would be appropriate. As far as being able to put up signs or other markers from that area, that can be easily done, and it doesn't restrict any movement of wildlife through the open space. But it could, by letting people know not to go past that borderline. Karen, I apologize, she just wrote the email at 3:41 today. She mentioned ATV activities. I've actually witnessed the ATV on that. You can actually walk on the property and you can see that ATVs are used there on a regular basis, or dirt bikes, or there's parts of motorcycles on the property. Correspondingly, litter, that's something that we would pick up and we would patrol. We would have garbage and some type of trash so that we can contain our trash and pick up anything that's there. Currently, unfortunately, people are using that property without the property owner's permission to have parties, at which point there is trash, there are beer cans, there is other litter on the property, which is not being picked up now. Having the museum on the property, we would actually be able to take care of the trash and pick it up. She also mentioned, again, about open space lands. That's, I revert back to, you're talking about a 500-foot section across the northern piece of the property that the town of Berlin has for open space. So those two, I'm hoping I'm addressing those points. Mr. Kern's email, or I'm sorry, letter is extensive. His, as I reviewed the letter, I noticed that he has incorrect citations that he's referring to as zoning regulations. He's referring to zoning regulations 5B, section 5B. He's referring to section 6P, which doesn't even exist. So I'm assuming these are typos. So I will go on to his list. The first, special permit purpose for applicant not allowed under zoning. Our application is allowed under the regulations. I'm not sure why he says we're not allowed to put in a special permit. Believes that granting this special permit will expose large tracts of dedicated open space to possible environmental abuses by officers, members, and guests. I'm not sure where, I don't know Mr. Kern. I don't, as far as I know, nobody on our board knows him. So for him to make this accusation that we're going to be doing environmental abuse by the officers and guests, I would strongly disagree with that. We've never done anything to, we have no track record of doing this. So I do take exception to him making those accusations against us. Third, BLT has environmental concern about plastic foam pellets used by the applicant. Mr. Kern said that he did read this. He said that he did read the presentation. In the presentation, it says museum would require biodegradable pellets only. That is stated. So earlier in his letter, he's saying he read it. He's quoting incorrect sections and making accusations unfound, which I would consider. And then fourth, proposed parking is inadequate for the purposes stated in the application. Proposed parking was determined by the Connecticut consulting engineers that we hired. I'm not sure where he's coming up with inadequate for the purpose stated in the application. We don't know how many people are going to come. It's impossible for anyone to say this many people on site. I can go by the Danbury Museum. It was a different museum. It was they had displays. They did have open turret day, during which they had 10 parking spaces, and then they used 12 parking spaces from the restaurant next door, which was sort of their kind of overflow. If you just take into account, because he did mention camp, if you take into account the camp process, it says 1 spot per 15 in the day camp rules, which would equal 27 spots for 400. Will we get 400 people? I can't imagine it. Would it be great? Yeah, absolutely. We can address the parking concerns as we open. If we're running into overflow, you're talking about a field that is huge. It's many acres in size. So his saying we have inadequate parking, I'm not sure where he's coming up with that argument. On section 6F and 6P, again, those sections are not relevant to this. Again, I'm not sure if it's a typo on Mr. Kern's part. It's my understanding Mr. Kern is a lawyer. I don't know him. I looked him up to find out. I would find it, I find it interesting that he has this many typos on a letter, especially when he's citing regulations. Going on to first, a day camp can obtain a special permit under section, which is the wrong section. Must be on a campsite not smaller than, we're talking about 77 acres. Maximum of 400 people is permitted at any such camp. Improve areas for camping, picnicking, playgrounds, and sports areas. He's making a judgment when he says, what does it sound like? Traditional camps with useful campers operating in the summer. I'm not sure where Mr. Kern is with his concept of a camp. Traditional camp could also mean, it could mean older, out of date. Museums and camps are changing. We're providing activities. He goes on to talk about us not pending application intended to use the outdoor recreation orienteering course, military style obstacle course on foot trails. The description of the intended activities of the applicant does not even closely approximate the concept of a day camp, which is, in all honesty, that's totally false. The Boy Scout camp at Mattatuck, which is one of the largest Boy Scout camps in the state, almost every Boy Scout camp in the state and across the country have orienteering courses. It's one of the badges that they get. It teaches them GPS. It allows them to have compass, learn about compass, about topographical maps. These are life skills that are being taught to campers. So as far as day camps having this, it's actually very common, and actually in most Boy Scout, Girl Scouts, they actually have these. The public has very limited access to these, where you have to go to a Boy Scout camp, a Girl Scout. It's just north of Danbury. I can't remember the town. That's one of the few orienteering courses in the entire state that's open to the public. People don't know a lot about orienteering. It's very popular and it's a great activity, especially during the pandemic, which was mentioned earlier. It's an outdoor activity that's great for families of all ages. They can go around. What it does, newer kids can use their phones. They can use the GPS tracking on there. If you don't know what orienteering, it's going to send you to a marker. When you get to that marker, it then gives you the coordinates for the next location. At which point you can either follow the trail or you can try looking at your topographical map. You go to that. There are actually colleges that have orienteering clubs. They don't have a place really in Connecticut other than one location. Orienteering, as I said, in Europe is incredibly popular. And it's a great, again, it's a great activity. As far as the obstacle course, yes, it is based on a military style obstacle course. Almost any obstacle course in one way or another really comes to the factor of, did it have its origins in the military? Most of them did. It's something that military uses to train their soldiers. It's actually been enhanced over the years that you've had organizations such as Tough Mudder and Spartan Race that have actually turned this into what they call obstacle course racing. Obstacle course racing has now taken cross-country running, which was on a decline, and has increased that activity. There are now millions of people a year who enjoy obstacle course racing. There's actually only one dedicated obstacle course racing course in New England. It's in Vermont. By us opening this up, we will allow people to get out of physical activity. We're able to utilize the trails that are there. And being able to set up these obstacle courses provides physical activity. It gives people from different areas who want to do training, if they're going to go to a Tough Mudder, if they're going to go to a Spartan race, it gives them a place to learn how to do obstacles. And physical fitness is something that is on decline. If you go to schools nowadays with the pandemic and everything else like that, you're seeing a decrease in gym activities and recreation. They don't have a place to go. They're doing hiking. We're giving people a place to come and have an outdoor activity. It can be at just about every Boy Scout camp out there that type of obstacle course associated with it. As far as our battlefield reenactments, there is a newer generation where they're trying to get them involved in history and other activities. I found Scouting Orienteering Obstacle Course, established 1939, Camp Manitouk, sits on 500 acres outside Waterbury. Camp Bell talks about the uniqueness of having extreme obstacle course. Competing in orienteering course as a Boy Scout. Boy Scout, when first class rank is attained, one of the things that they do is orienteering. So these are activities that camps are using. So I disagree with Mr. Kern's allegations that we're doing something that's not falling under that regulation. Something that's new, it's called History Camp. It's Living History. Massachusetts Museum has battled the Airfield American Heritage Museum. They do October 6th through the 7th. This was in 2018. They're not doing it this year due to Corona. But this is part of the Collins Foundation. World War II reenactments, World War II veterans, roundtable. These are the Living History Camp. So History Camp, again, it's something new. He may not understand that. So I disagree with his concept on there. He wanted to talk about day camps. Do we meet the day camp? And honestly, I say we do. Campsite not be less than 10 acres in area, and we are, as I said, 77 acres. No more than one camper for every 2,000 square feet on the site area, with a maximum of 400 people at the camp. 77 acres is equivalent to 3,304,120 square feet. At 2,000 square feet, we would be allowed 1,677 people. The town has a permit, you can have 400 people. So as far as not meeting the size requirements, we not only meet it, we exceed it by a substantial amount. Improved areas such as camping, picnicking area, playground areas, sports areas to be located at least 125 feet from all property lines. Our site plan addresses that. We've site plan. Off-street parking should be provided on site. We've addressed on the site plan. It also said 400 persons, goes on to say one space for every 15 campers. There should be no more than one permanent dwelling in any camp. We're not having any permanent dwellings at this time. Each camp should be equipped with toilet wash basins. We're proposing portable toilets and wash to be provided. No building or structure should be closer than 100 feet to any property line. Again, we've addressed this in the site. He does go on to talk about, again, the foam pellets, plastic pellets. Again, we're not using those. He mentions motorized vehicles. I'm not sure what an ATM is. Again, it could be a typo. It could mean ATV. We would like to be able to have motorized military vehicles on site, maybe do a military vehicle show, which would bring veterans in and bring people in to see this. There's currently one that's done in Chester at the fairgrounds over there. They bring in military vehicles from all over the state and from out of state. It's a way for people to get together, look at the history of the vehicles and how they're related. Not only their development and other things along those lines. So he mentioned spillover, military tragedies. Again, I've talked about having a delineation. He mentioned quasi-military boot camp style training. I guess with the obstacle course, I'm not really sure. Disturb hikers who normally traverse the trails in town-owned open space. I agree. We will not do that. We will not go on town open space. We will delineate the space. That goes back to the issue of the hiking through the private property. But I'm more than willing to address that with Claire. We'd be more than willing to help. I wouldn't understand why Meriden wouldn't allow the use of their open space, which is right along the borderline, which is addressed. So 2 was he was talking about overflow. 3, he was talking about foam pellets being a hazard. Again, we've said we weren't going to use them. Parking arrangements. I would need to have a better understanding of where he's coming up with. Again, I'm hoping that we will need an increase in the future. As of right now, based on the professionals that we hired, they told us 32 spaces. We will not be parking on the Chamberlain Highway. There's actually, as you go in, there's actually 600 feet of parking space along that dirt road that enters the property. It's cut back about 20 feet. So possibility to utilize that on an overflow basis. You have 600 feet. Even if you say 10 foot per parking space, you're talking an additional 60 cars, or 60 vehicles right along entrance driveway. Again, I'm not sure where he's coming up with some of his things. I'm hoping that addresses some of that. Going back to, there were no other things as far as, those were all you read everything in?
Everything was read. The thing is that there's comments from the public that are watching here.
Okay.
We still have that as well.
I'm just going to touch briefly on the Veteran Connection. On the town website, I did notice that the town is promoting working with veterans. That is what our organization does. One of our educational pieces, the Oral History Project, we have started that process. If you go to our website, actually, I'm going to go back for a second because Mr. Kern did mention our website, and he said he said the website of Military Experience Museum indicates that part of the education experience involves weapon using pellets in BBs and foam. I actually looked again at our website and it doesn't mention that. So that, I'm not sure where he came at, but I do want to, we did not mention that. We have mentioned it in some of our other presentations. Going back to, if you do go to our website, you will see that we do have, we do talk about the Oral History Project. We do have a place on there for veterans to contact us. We have had families contact us. We've done interviews with veterans. We had the actor Tom Sizemore, who's famous for Saving Private Ryan and Black Hawk Down. He's joined our, as far as working with us. He actually got a lot of benefit out of talking to the veterans. They opened up with him when we had him in. He had the opportunity to speak with veterans. There were some veterans who have never opened up to anyone else. And with this oral history project, when they talk to the right person, normally another veteran, they'll also often open up about their experiences. And we've done things with World War II veterans. Again, going back to the town of Berlin's website, they promote this oral history project, which is part of the Library of Congress. So part of our goal is education. Oral history is a major factor that we look at doing with this. Part of that being when somebody sees an item on display, they record. When you have somebody telling you about that object or that artifact, you're going to remember it. You're going to actually go forward and you're going to look and try to find out more on your own. Part of our overall concept is, as I've said, get off the couch into the action, learning through participation. When people come out and participate, if we can get 20% of the people interested in history, then we've won. When kids are forced to learn in school, they learn it for a test, they take the test, and often forget about it. If they're interested in history, and we get them to talk to people, they may go on their own, they may go on their internet, they may go and learn about, like seek it out, at which point you're now seeking out education, which is something you're going to learn about for the future. The vets that we talk to, especially the younger vets, don't like going to the VFWs. The VFWs, although they're set up for veterans, and honestly, a lot of them have their attendance down. They've seen that some of the younger vets are coming back. VFWs are set up as bars. They serve the alcohol, they have drinking, they allow that inside. A lot of the younger vets don't want that. They're looking for something that's a little more healthy. They'd rather have coffee. A lot of them are on meds nowadays. That's more the problem, is that veterans are being prescribed medication. They can't go to a bar and drink alcohol. We're not saying we're going to help with some of this. What we are saying, we give them a place to come. We've had a lot of success with a lot of veterans coming to us, and this is another isolationism. Isolationism is one of the biggest issues with PTSD, traumatic brain injury. These are issues that our veterans are having. We give them a place where they can come, they can meet other veterans without having to and be around alcohol, be around smoking. They like the idea of being able to go and be healthy. They like the idea of being able to go onto an obstacle course. Instead of being in a gym and doing CrossFit training, they can actually get out and run. They actually get out there and run with their buddies. We provide a team here that they can go and run with their buddies and do an obstacle course. That's one of the biggest things that Tough Mudder and Spartan Race have seen over the years. So being able to give these people a place, then while they're there, being able to interact with civilians who never really get the opportunity to speak to these guys. This is another benefit that we feel that we can offer. I'm assuming they're here to have questions or concerns, so I'll stop with my part and allow others to, whether it's online or people here.
Perfect. Yes, Maureen.
While we're on submitted letters, I probably with trying to do this, want to make sure that two letters were noted. Did you read the one from Lorraine Stubb?
No, it's not.
It may be at the bottom of your supplemental package. She emailed me this afternoon as well, and I'll read it out loud if you wish.
Please.
Up to Brian, I guess Brian too, but I don't mind. From Lorraine Stubb, addressed to all the commission members and myself, September 3rd, 2020, at 10:31 a.m. Dear more members of the P&Z Commission, I will be listening this evening to the discussion about the Military History Museum proposal for the property in South Kensington. I keep looking for details other than the map that was posted, but the town website says staff have not been able to post yet, even though information is supposed to be posted 24 hours before. Having little information on which to form an opinion, I look forward to hearing details tonight. I would hope that no decision will be made tonight, given the information has not been out there for the public to make an informed opinion. I live on Chamberlain Highway within earshot of the property and would be concerned if it would mean frequent gun noise. We already have Sundays disturbed by target practice at Halmere Gun Club on Edgewood Road. The sound travels so that it feels as if it's in our backyard. I would also be concerned if this activity infringes on the hiking trails adjacent to the property. That said, I will keep an open mind until I know more about what is proposed. Lorraine Stubb with her address. I did respond that the several packets of information regarding the item are posted on the website. It is only my own staff comments that were not posted due to updating. I have attached the link and I gave her the link. One of the attachment is the submitted presentation from the applicant, which may be a useful summary and a place to start. So I had told her I would put this on. It will also be on the, I believe it was posted on the website as well already today, but it may not have gotten in the last supplemental package. Anything new coming in will be on the website tomorrow. I also received a letter Monday, August 31st that referenced in the staff report from Mr. Benoit with regard to, and it's in the file and on the thing, it was addressed to me, so more the issue I'm going to discuss as opposed to the letter itself. The issue was a 2011 military operation that was on this site, Delta Force and Joint Forces Tactical. Actually, I think I'll read it anyway. I live at 2560 Chamberlain Highway across from the proposed museum. I know you are busy, but would you answer this one question? Delta Force and Joint Forces Tactical, Doug Odishu is the owner, in any way affiliated with the proposed museum. Some years ago, this outfit was operating a shooting range on Carabetta property with his approval. See attached police report. Because of the loud noise and complaints, they were told to cease and desist by the then zoning enforcement Holloway. Is this going to be a paramilitary activity? I responded, thank you for your understanding. I just got in today after an appointment. I am not familiar with the names you mentioned. This use is affiliated with the Military Experience Museum in Wallingford. Tom O'Rourke is the contact making the application. I understand Fran has sent you copies from the file. The information we have on the activity will be in the file or any information presented at the public hearing. Thank you for your background on the parcel, and I will check for the file. To wrap that around, we were not able to find a zoning enforcement file, and he had attached the police report from that time that there was, and it is in your packages and will be posted. It's a 2011 report, and with the summary being no criminal effect, case closed. So I want, because that may be on the minds of the public listening.
Yeah.
They may remember that and perhaps addressing whether it's paramilitary.
Right, thank you, Maureen. Because this is the public hearing, I will now ask the public, whether in here, in person, or online, if they would like to pose some questions or have a conversation with us regarding this application.
Give me 1 minute, or you unmute
Okay.
callers. Okay.
So all callers are unmuted. So is there anyone who wishes to address the commission regarding this application? Okay, yes, we have one person with a hand raised here. So why don't we take your comments, your name and address for the record, please, and start? Yes.
I'm gonna remute the time so that there's
Okay.
no interference, and we'll ask again perhaps.
Yes, and then after this, young lady talks, then we'll go to people on the line, to see if we have any comments from them, and we'll give them a chance to chime in. Okay, yes.
Hi, so my name is Alexander Kaminska. I live on 2537 Chamberlain Highway, directly adjacent to the giant field. So first and foremost, I think the idea is great. And as a Polish Girl Scout, I think that in general, this kind of activity is fantastic, just preferably not in my backyard. Just because, especially when it comes to the guns, even with like the reenactments, the way that field and the adjacent mountain is standing, the acoustics of that area is really loud. So we can sit in our backyard and half a mile away hear word for word somebody's conversation on that mountain. So if we're talking about even just BB guns or sounds of paintball guns regularly, that's very disruptive. And then when it comes to the reenactments, which for the record are fairly cool, again, not in my backyard. Because I don't want to explain to my niece and nephew coming over that there isn't actually a war happening in our backyard. So in general, that is a very disruptive area, which I know that we moved to Berlin, and especially that area, because it's quiet and peaceful and nice to look at, and fantastic wildlife there as well. So we'd rather not be having even 400 people coming in that general area, hanging out basically in our backyard and shooting guns. And even just the concept, I'm sure it would be in a safe area, but the unfortunate situation of teaching, you know, a young kid, and he or she walks away and, you know, unsupervised, and now shooting towards the other adjacent property. And it's just, you know, having that always on our mind would be highly uncomfortable. Speaking of which, you mentioned that it's 77 acres, which I do believe that is correct, but I don't think that field is 77 acres. So wherever you plan on having the shooting, there's a lot of wetland that you can actually use, and it would include, I assume, that mountain in the back and those trails. So wherever the shooting would be happening, if it is planned to be for that field, again, our house is right there, so that is, again, highly uncomfortable. Similarly, I was under the impression that this was a museum where you would have your exhibitions and showcase, you know, war history and all that fantastic stuff. It sounds more to me that it's an experience, which is something that, to me, I'm not sure if I'm understanding, like, are you setting up every day and picking everything up again until you start again the next day? Is it, you know, does that mean the porta potties that will be coming will be there as an eyesore all the time? Is it going to be cleaned every day?
Oh, you don't want to look at the porta.
Well, exactly. So is it also the trash? Is that also going to be picked up every day? Meaning trash bins. Are we going to be looking at trash bins in that field every day? And then in general, the obstacle courses and things like that, is that something that's, today we're going to put it out before people come, and tonight we're picking it up so that it's not there, whether it's a hazard for animals, whether it's hazard for hikers, regardless of what it is, if there isn't a permanent building, there are going to be still permanent things left there. I guess that's one of my questions. And yeah, I think that was it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Maureen, do we have somebody online? Yes, but I wanted to give the, no, that's okay, but yeah, I'll circle back. But I just wanted to see if there was anyone who wanted to address the commission who was on the line.
Unmute one more time.
Yeah, we're gonna unmute everyone, so please let us know if you want to address the commission regarding this application or against.
You're a caller online and you want to speak up, just speak up so that we know you want to talk, and we'll. Doesn't appear so.
Okay, then coming back, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Peter Zaragoza. I live at 158 Elwood Road in Berlin, Connecticut. My primary concern, proposal by Mr. O'Rourke, is that he is grossly misrepresenting his actual proposal. This is the furthest thing away from museum. B, this is a proposed military simulation exercise. I'm concerned that staff, public, do not quite understand what this proposal is or what a military simulation exercise is. It's a very popular hobby that's growing, and it typically involves the use of guns, not military equipment, powder, etc. But in his case, I suppose we'll use airsoft guns. To shed some light on this, on Thomas O'Rourke's own LinkedIn page, he states that the museum inspires visitors by enabling them to experience military vehicles, explore artifacts, and participate in military simulations and enactments. This is also something he said in the He seems to focus on the fact that it's an orienteering course or camp, but those two concepts have nothing to do with airsoft guns. You don't need an airsoft gun to orient or walk through the woods or have a Boy Scout camp. A prime example would be Camp Southington. They do orienteering there and don't use airsoft guns. My sincere concern is that this is a military simulation and it is not in fact a museum. A museum is a structure or something that is used for artifacts or cultural experiences. This is not the case. I would also like to add, excuse me.
If you would like to remove your face mask when you're talking,
thank you.
I think it will help you.
Indeed.
All right.
Can I just ask him to maybe come to the middle?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So he's 6 feet distant from others, if he's going to remove his mask. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
I've
just
got
that
to
it's
follow the
easier,
rules.
you're not muted.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
Clarity and you can breathe. All right.
I'd like to give the commission and the public a better background about the person who's making this proposal. Thomas O'Rourke, from his own website, is taking his passion playing in military simulation events and turning them into organized 70 regional events ranging in size from 50 to 500 participants in the Northeast. He organized many national level events, including Operation Pine Plains 1 through 4 and Operation Pine to Glory, the U.S. Army base at Fort Drum, New York. In 2014, he gained access to new venues that have never been used for military simulation. These real-world areas of operations included a 28-acre abandoned chemical facility in Massachusetts, and arguably one of the best locations ever. He is the principal technical advisor on Milsim and airsoft weapons. O'Rourke is from Record Journal, January 12, 2018. Mr. O'Rourke was trying to establish the same proposal up at Capitol Mountain on the former decommissioned nuclear power plant. O'Rourke is the founder of Military Simulation Airsoft Tactical Operations, a military simulation events company. His new project, Military Experience Museum, Inc., would be a not-for-profit museum of indoor and outdoor attractions. O'Rourke, which he also mentioned in his testimony, also hopes to acquire tanks and trucks that remain at the Danbury site, allowing guests to ride the grounds for a fee. For that reason, he is looking at larger locations. This is from the Meriden location, but it says in the 75-acre range. Quote, you will actually be able to go ride on the vehicles, and that's why we're looking for a large property, O'Rourke said. That's what gets people interested in history. I am deeply concerned that nobody in this room or the public actually have a firm understanding of what this gentleman is trying to sell the town of Berlin. This is a proposal for a military simulation exercise, similar to Hogan's Alley paintball now. Military simulation is fun, it's a great hobby, do not get me wrong. But I feel it's disingenuous to try to sell the town of Berlin and the zoning commission a museum that is a military simulation experience. That's like calling the Tour de France bicycles. It's misleading. I would like to add hashtags obviously staunchly against this proposal. And I would also like to touch, to answer a question you had from before about liability for your, for the new of your property. Per state law, I think it's HB 687, could be misquoting it. Anyone that allows access for passive recreation, be you a business or nonprofit entity or private landowner, you are not held liable for that person on your property as long as you don't charge a fee. So in that case, consult a lawyer, but you wouldn't be liable. So it is my appeal to the commission to reject this proposal or allow the proposal with strict restrictions against any military simulation or airsoft gun or other equipment on the property due to noise nuisance and just general misleading of the public in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Edge.
Chris Edge, Economic Development Director, Town of Berlin. Commissioner, you folks. Been talking to Tom, both our town planner and myself for a while. This one is kind of different for the fact it doesn't any box that we have in our regulations. I've gone in front of this commission a number of times. The zoning book is very set. We've had to make changes. Things do change. And this is one of these that didn't fit into it. And it's come under this. I can say for certain that I've been Assistant Scoutmaster in my son's Boy Scout troop for about 4 years now. We've gone to Camp Webster, which is it's in Lebanon, somewhere up in that corner. We've done most of the things there, which is rifles, shotguns, orienteering, obstacle courses. We've done their ceremonies. So this is not that much different from a Boy Scout camp, though it does have the simulations. A couple things from economic development side. I thought it'd be great to bring people to town. And one of the things that I know we are all, it's a very proud community for our veterans. I had an experience today, a woman who called me as a property owner, said, look, here's what's going on. My husband has some issues. I sent an email to our Veterans Commission within a half an hour of the call. I would love to be able to take that pride, that excitement for the veterans and try to bring it here. It is different, no question. I think it definitely is, and restrictions need to be in place. We've also been members of Mystic Aquarium for many years. The experience there is see stuff, it's do stuff, it's feel the animals, etc. I think if we can maybe work together and find a middle ground, this could work. Again, asking for a middle ground because I think everyone's things they're saying are very important. But I'd like to also maybe look at this in a way that it could be.
Thank you. And then circling back to the public on the phone or listening in on the meeting, is there anyone who wishes to address the commission regarding this application? We'll unmute you. Please speak up with your name and address. No. All right. Turning to the commission, do we have any questions of our applicant for our public hearing?
Sure.
Mr. Rogan.
Will there be overnight camping?
We would like to have the option on weekends for part of the living history that people would be able to stay overnight in a military era battlefield area or exhibit, whether it's World War II or Vietnam era.
So what would during your weekdays, would it not be open? What would your average hours of operation?
We're planning on weekends. The overall plan is Saturday, Sunday, and holidays. During the week, we would maybe in the summer for obstacle course or orienteering course, have that. Our initial plan is to have days that are set aside for orienteering and obstacle course, and military simulations would be on different days. They'd be scheduled ahead of time.
For the reenactors, because noise seems to be the main concern. can you give me a number on how many times a year, like no greater than, like you talk 2 times, 10 times?
We'd be willing to work with town if they want to say, okay, you can do a World War reenactment once a year, twice a year. You know, if we can do like let's say it's a June, we do June for whether it's Armed Forces Weekend, which is in May. You could do Memorial Day weekend. You could have something that, or you could do beginning of June, more in line with Day, something along those lines. Down in Pennsylvania, they do normally two a year. Normally one in the summer, and then they do a winter one. Often the one down in Pennsylvania goes for they do something along the lines of a battle at the Bulge. Those are very limited with the amount of people who show up because of the weather. Most people don't want to come out during that, but it is an educational time that allows people to see what people went through. People who have that clothing, whether it's again, we get that more for World War II reenactors. You get the German or the American units that come out. Again, it's a lot more limited for winter activities. One of the things that's become more popular recently is Vietnam reenactment. Those are normally held in the summer months due to the weather. The reenactors want something that's more in line with the hot, more of a July, August type of that they do with that. It's something that's continuing to grow as people learn. There's a lot of history related to Vietnam that as the vets are getting older, you're getting vets who are in their 70s and such. So we are trying to focus a little bit on that. Korea is a difficult one. It's not something that there's a lot of reenactors for, but Vietnam has become something that there are growing numbers of reenactors for Vietnam. Connecticut does have quite a few veterans, and including special operations people who have an incredible stories, including there's a large Laotian population up East Hartford and East Windsor. They served with the Special Guerrilla Unit, which was a CIA operation. Incredible stories that they're able to share that haven't been shared that much. They did do something with Central Connecticut State University, the history department over there. I have been in contact with General Sauer, who is one of the leaders, but there is a large population that used to march in the Veterans Day Parade in Hartford. Since that's been canceled, they haven't had an opportunity to get together that much. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mrs. Maureen has the map on the thing, and I know that neighbors are concerned about the airsoft. I'm not familiar. I played paintball as a kid, pretty closely, pretty tiny area, but I'm not familiar with airsoft or how far a pellet travels. Would you be able to point to the map on where your idea for those simulations would be? And like the distance that one of those pellets would travel?
Is this at your house?
Yes.
Okay. When you mentioned the large field, I wasn't sure if you were across the street. This is not part of, that's a separate entity. Just in, as far as, since this is up there, there is a hill right here, and there is and stuff like this. So there is a berm here. I'd have to look at the topo map to figure that out. As far as porta potties or something along those lines, trash service, we would have a dumpster or appropriate size trash receptacle there to take care of any of the garbage created during the day and make sure that people pick up after themselves. Correspondingly, we would have it emptied in with the, I don't know what the standards are, but it would be emptied in accordance to standards. We were at there is an area right here, although our site planner, I think, had them over here. The porta potties, we did put through we did propose what's called an ELU, which is a newer system that they courses in other locations that don't have water. With that, it puts out the amount of smell from that. From what they're saying, it doesn't put out any. I don't know that. I can only go by their white paper. Oh. I can.
I'll go back to the map.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but, so out of 77 acres, you're gonna put porta potties next to my house?
She has to come to the chair, but it's about.
Unfortunately, this is a road going up. This is a staging area that we are looking at. We are going in accordance with the town guidelines of 150 feet from your property line. If we have to move them further away, no problem with that. We can put them, up further away, so it would be near where we were proposing the staging area and the parking, which would make more sense. So we'd work with the site planner. So as far as the 77 acre, you would put it again where the site planner said, which would be the parking area.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so are you going to use the ELU, which looks like to me that it's contained inside the building, or are you going to use porta potties?
We wanted to start off with porta potties. We prefer that. But have the option if we go with.
Because I don't see where these ELUs could be put as far away from their house as possible. I don't see what the difference is. Experience of the museum aspect of it. And it looks like they're almost like a little shed area.
Basically, it has to, yes, it would just be a shed. It's more permanent structure. Yeah, which I think she has them on here as well. In regards to came up earlier, the airsoft reenactments, simulations would mainly take place around the. Again, this was a rough sketch prior to our site plan that was proposed. This was a rough sketch that I gave him, so this is not exact. So over here you have like a Vietnam era, what the thought was to go Vietnam era 1, World War II there, Afghan village, Iraq. And again, I don't remember what that was. But an airsoft BB shoots anywhere. If you have on the high end, 300 feet. If you're doing well with your airsoft gun. So as far as the scale of this, I don't know if we have a scale, but
It'll be on this page.
it's I know that this was, I think this 600 or 1,000 feet along there.
If I may, I'm gonna go back, which is just prior, 2 pages
Nope.
prior to it. Oh, this is the building that Commissioner Woolman asked to show.
It's
something that they utilize at golf courses when they don't have, water and septic.
And then I'm gonna try to go down to a different picture that may, it's a little bit better in aerial view, I presume. Came out better. Oh, came out worse. Came out much worse. We had it posted in a couple of different places. This was the simplest, this was the basic scan. I guess.
I didn't know if you had other additional questions.
I guess the only other one would be how long does your average airsoft simulation last?
If we're gonna do it, it'd be for a day.
I mean, like, it'd be all day long, just, it'd be like an event lasts 30 minutes.
No, when you're doing military simulation or reenactment, what you're gonna do is you're gonna be immersed in it. So you're gonna be working with, team building. So you are working with squads. You have a fire team. You have a squad. So fire team is like 5 people. It's half of a squad. You have a squad. Then you have so many squads that are part of a platoon. You have command elements that are part of that. And same with the reenactments.
So I don't mean to understand this is, they're gonna be strategic. So it's not like we're, I remember like I said in paintball, just kind of open fire. People are actually gonna be thinking out their shots and it's not gonna be like pop, 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 pop.
Most simulations and reenactments have an objective. So it's more objective based and you're using airsoft as a tool to complete that objective.
I'm just trying to get an idea of the noise and things, but.
Much better view.
Information we have here tonight. Okay, all right. Yes, Diane.
Well, I have a bunch of questions.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure where to start. Okay. I think we'll stay on the Portalette theme for a few minutes.
Okay.
The ELU that's here in your package, the photograph appears to represent that structure would be one toilet. Is that accurate?
You can have as many as you want.
So this
That is
photo
that's one unit.
of the containment depicted here,
Mhm.
the structure is rather large for the single toilet. Do these have multiple toilets with them?
There's, based on, that was an example of a golf course that has it set up. Anytime you have a toilet area, you can have as many as you want in there. You can have 1, you can have 10. The size of the building is depending on how many you have inside. So it could change based on the number of units required.
So how many portalettes do you envision starting with?
We would go by the number. Again, off the top of my head, I'm thinking for on an event weekend, you're normally talking about 1 portalette per 30 people is a normal. Again, that's off the top of my head. I don't know the exact number. So the number would be determined by how many people we would have on site.
So at a 400-person maximum,
You have a lot of porta
we're going to
potties.
have at least 10 or a dozen portalettes.
Correct.
And so a 77-acre property, that's a long way to walk all the way back to the entrance of the property if you've got to go.
Correct.
So are they going to be split up so you've got half on one end of the property, half?
No. Plan is not to do that, no.
For the battlefield reenactments, the proposal that you are bringing to us you're saying that there's not gonna be any structures, there's not really gonna be much disturbance to the topography. But you're talking about a battlefield reenactment for an Afghan village. So how do you do a Afghan village structures?
You said there weren't going to be any permanent structures on the property. We were looking at using temporary structures like the US Army, which they use containers to simulate a building. And this way it allows them to move them around. So it's being able to utilize a container, which can be fabricated to look like a building.
And so these would stay on the property through the week?
Yes,
So they're not going,
correct.
okay. How are you gonna assure security of those individual sites?
There's nothing specific other than a container. There's nothing, I mean, could it get damaged? Yes. Could it get vandalism? That's why we're utilizing containers, and again, in the same manner that the US Army does, because there's not a lot to them. There's not a lot of damage that can be done to them. You're talking about spray paint or something along that, we would be painting that. If we have to deal with graffiti or something along those lines, then we would deal with that.
You mentioned also, in addition to the airsoft guns, using blank fire weapons.
As part of reenactment, whether it's a couple times a year, we would like to have the opportunity to. It allows us to draw in reenactors from all over the country, and especially from the Northeast, but we can't get reenactors from all over the country if we allow blank fire.
Do you allow, or?
If we do. That's what they use as part of their reenactment.
So are these blank fire weapons just rifles? Are they grenades? Are they tanks? Or what are they?
They're could be rifles, pistols, could be grenades. As far as tanks shooting off, we didn't have any plans for that. So, I mean, we don't have to have tanks shooting off their cannon. They do at other locations, they have that. But we did not plan on having that due to the location of the property.
With the orienteering, does the orienteering include battle reenactments as they're doing finding their way through the woods?
No, not necessarily. You could use it as part of a mission where you're giving people a coordinate where they have to go to that coordinate to complete a mission. But the orienteering course is a separate activity that can be done on days that you're doing reenactment or simulation on the property.
Okay. I'm curious if your estimation of battlefield reenactments is as realistic as you'd like us to think, with your representation that you might want to have, and maybe I misunderstood, but you might have host like a Girl Scout or Boy Scout group or something like that as a special activity. You're talking about holiday experiences. It sounds to me like the hope is for much more than just twice a year.
For the reenactments?
Yes.
The reenactments, if you wanted me to give a guess, I'd say 3 to 4 times out of the year.
And okay.
If that was in related to how many times you're going to have blank fire and such, again, I'd like to have the option to have World War II, Vietnam. There really isn't current day. Now that could change, but as far as there's not any more current day reenactment going on, meaning Iraq, Afghanistan. I don't know a reenactment like that. Could that change in a few years? Yes. So could you have blank fire 3 or 4 times a year? If part of the permission is we're regulated to having blank fire only a certain amount of times a year, that's understandable. As far as the reenactment simulation utilizing airsoft guns, we'd like to have that on one day out of the on a weekend. So let's say it's a month, 3 times a month, for one day. You have some type of military simulation reenactment utilizing airsoft guns.
So if we have 4 times a year, you have 5 post sites.
Mhm.
So 4 times a year, you're probably going to want to do that at all 5 sites at the same time.
Not necessarily. Some of it could get overflown, spill over into other areas. By utilizing the containers, we could turn this Afghanistan village into another era. Grenada's coming up in a couple of years. So you're talking about the 40th anniversary of Grenada. We could turn those containers around and turn it into something that looks more along the lines of the medical school. That was the whole purpose of going into Grenada, was to get the medical students out. So what we want to be able to do is, utilize different areas. It's going to be an Afghan village? Not necessarily. What we would do is we would change it based on what's going on as far as anniversaries coming up. You have different wars that we've been involved in. You have Black Hawk, going back to Tom Sizemore, and he was famous in that movie. You have Colonel McKnight, who was somebody who was actually in that. Tom Sizemore played Colonel McKnight in that. So could we do something Somali feel to it in commemoration of the activity in Somalia? World War II would probably be concentrated around this area, but with reenactment, it could go into other areas as you're trying to have allow them to have other things and just be sectioned off to one area.
So with the guests that come to participate in reenactments, how do you maintain control of all of the weapons? How do you know somebody isn't coming on property with a weapon?
For airsoft, all the guns are what they call chronoed, so make sure that they're not shooting over certain feet per second. That's regulated. We have insurance that regulates that. So you have to have, it goes through chrono, and then a tag is put on them. As far as any of the blank fire, they have to have adapters. Some guns are specifically, they don't have a solid barrel. They don't have a natural barrel. Anyone that does actually has a adapters that are required to on them. So you check. It's a check process. So anyone who comes on, you're checking before they. Part of the staging process is safety, to make sure that everyone who leaves here, first of all, we have them checked in. We know who's coming on the property. We have their waivers. We have their hold harmless, and we've checked to make sure that they have proper safety gear, and that their weapon is in proper order, that there are no real guns on site. We don't want any real guns on site. And so we do our due diligence to make sure that it doesn't happen.
And so does that due diligence then include monitoring of the trails and the other access point property? If somebody wanted to
if
come on from some other point.
As a 77-acre site, are we gonna be able to bury or no? It's impossible. You have a trail right here. This isn't our property. This part right here, there's a trail access right here. This is used on a regular basis. You can actually see where they come in. They come in over here. Again, this isn't our property. I can't control the field.
No, but the project area,
Yeah,
to me, with all the wackos we hear about doing crazy things, having crazy thoughts in mind, if somebody wanted to do harm, they could.
that's I don't want to get any gun debate, but that's, you could go to the mall, they could Grand Square Mall and walk in there, and that's a soft target. Any place is a soft target.
I think your project leaves you vulnerable because everybody's carrying a weapon. That you're not talking about fencing the property to prevent something like that. That's all is my point.
I would disagree. Even if you had a fence around the property, somebody could climb over it. It's a barrier. You can't stop it. Could we stop a crazy from coming in here? No. Can you stop a crazy from walking in the door right now? No.
No, but
Do you have?
I think people's guard would be down.
I think
Everybody
actually
has a
the people who are coming, you have more ability. You have veterans, and you have people who are looking for history. You're actually most of the people who play use airsoft guns. Basically it's a game based on honor. So you're actually at a higher level than people who play paintball. Paintball is based on you get hit and the paintball breaks and you call yourself out. Airsoft, that doesn't happen. The whole concept behind it is you get hit and you call yourself out. It's a game of honor. So the people who are coming, the military veterans who are here, I believe we actually have a higher caliber of people. And I believe it's less of a target because of the people that are there. You have combat veterans who may be there.
With an airsoft rifle.
With an airsoft rifle.
They won't be armed.
I don't know who's armed in here. Anyone can come in. You cannot secure a 77-acre site. You can't secure the Big E. You can't secure any
Even the
large
Big E has a
facility.
fence.
And people go over it all the, go around it.
That's true. Okay, as far as your parking area, the driveway, is that already sort of improved with gravel?
Parts of it have gravel. Our dirt where the gravel, it was all gravel at one point. Because it was my understanding that this was the access road into the NRG plant. This was prior to them building their road. This was the way they were getting vehicles up into the NRG plant as part of the construction process. This is from what I was told. This was also a fire access road as a back way to get into the NRG plant. So at one point it did have gravel. The gravel in some areas is minimal at best. It was a gravel road.
You mentioned also the motorized military vehicles, the military vehicle show as a possibility. That would be something that you would have to come back to
Sure.
get approval for. I'm interested though in your response to the gentleman's testimony with respect to other activities that you may have been involved in that are similar to this.
Part of the
Do you have
reason,
a response?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a response?
I don't remember everything he said. I mean, I could.
Look it up easily, and I know you know your own resume.
Yeah, you had some older stuff on there. Again, I don't have a problem. I mean, one of my other businesses is military simulation. It's an event company. We do that. It is an activity we go to military bases. I've gone to Fort Drum. We've run several activities up there. I've worked with the West Point cadets. So having an outside business, I'm not sure how it actually affects us, other than when the Danbury Museum closed down, they came to me and said, hey, Tom, would you be interested in taking this over? And I said, no, because it's a static museum. And the reason you're closing is because you don't have visitors. So the concept of taking entertainment, which he didn't mention as part of my resume, I'm also in the entertainment industry. I've written screenplays, I've written series. I've worked with Nick Pileggi, who wrote Goodfellas and Casino. I've worked with Martin Scorsese. So I have entertainment in my background as well. My thought was, is it possible, because I do have a passion for history. I've been spending my own money. Is it possible to take history and create a viable museum that's self-sufficient, that's not relying solely on donations? As I said before, if we get 20% interested in history, we've done great. We've won. If the other 80% fund it, absolutely, that's great. That's how you got to do it. If you look, go ahead and look on any news thing now, nonprofits are dying. When they changed the tax code a couple of years ago, there was 2018, and they changed the tax code, non-funding dried up. Nonprofit funding dried up. Corporations did not put money forward. So museums started to have to figure out how to do other ways. He mentioned having a museum. Again, it's going to die. There are major museums that are currently having major financial problems because of the coronavirus. They don't have any other source. The reason that orienteering, obstacle course racing, part of my resume is I worked with Joe DeCina. I worked with Spartan Race. Spartan Race is actually the only major obstacle course racing company still around. They just bought Tough Mudder out of bankruptcy. So I have the experience working with obstacle course racing. The concept of being able to have multiple revenue sources, which is I did mention in there, is a way to keep the museum alive. With people going in, see an exhibit, they're going to come one, they're not going to come back. Why are you going to go back? That's why Danbury died. When you have activities, when you have that interaction, our logo is education participation. If you look at the museum, the Collins Foundation was a major museum. They had to expand into having interaction. The American Armor Museum down in Bethpage, New York, down on Long Island, they've recently, during the past few years, have actually worked with them. The former executive who was out at the Danbury Museum, Al Bardo, who's chief operations officer on the Intrepid, down at the aircraft carrier down in New York, they have activities. It's not just going on to the Intrepid. They have other activities to try bringing in funds. The American Armor Museum has World War II every weekend. They haven't because of the corona, but they've sold tickets to World War II where you get to get on the vehicles and you drive through. You're allowed to get in the half tracks, you can't get on the tanks. They have a 400-acre site down there where they do shoot off their tanks. With this size, we don't have that. We have a field right here. We're not looking to shoot off tanks in there. I know we have neighbors. I'm not looking to have tanks and artillery going off. They have that down at Bethpage. They have that up in Massachusetts at the Collins Foundation, the American Heritage Museum. They don't do it that often. The American Heritage Museum doesn't, but it is one of the activities. Going on to other museums, I apologize, I don't remember his name, but he mentioned, like his concept of basically what I call a static museum with displays. Living history is the new way. bring in magazine articles and stuff like that from the Museum Association, which we're part of. We're part of the American Alliance of Museums. We've gone through, we've done all our paperwork to be a museum, educational. You have Sturbridge. That's a living history. You have Plymouth Rock. They've adopted into having lived in history, where you can go up there and you can have meals like the Pilgrims. It's a way to increase.
Yeah, I think if there's we could probably, continue discussing this. It seems like you have a passion for it, but, and I can appreciate that. But as we move on into the evening, I just want to make sure that we have a chance to get as much information as we can. I, for one, I don't know, I feel overwhelmed with everything that's before me. And I feel as if, I'm good, I myself, there's a lot for us to think about here. I think we've exhausted the public comment at this point. And I don't know if there's anything else the commission would like to add at this point. Do you also feel like you need to study on or wait in? What?
You're saying you're not building any buildings, but you're gonna have a lot of structures on the property. I see in your example here, a small building, whatever. So there's going to be some structures on the property that are going to be permanent. Buildings, people have the pros that are not permanent. But I can see this being a lot bigger than what you Tough Mudder, Spartan races, they all became big. And this is another towards that idea. And I could see these obstacle course being a big competition thing. And find obstacle course, stuff like that could be a big competition.
Yeah.
And a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you having structures on the property, and you're gonna have people coming in. Are you gonna have food facilities there, food truck or something for them to get drinks or something?
Well, this is all
Are
I
you
think
gonna
everything
have
we have to consider.
any of that kind of stuff there? You'll have to have some kind of support system for the people coming in. I don't proposal yet. So that's a lot of questions yet. Awful lot of questions yet. And I don't see us closing this meeting tonight, and it's gonna be a lot longer than what we think it's gonna be.
I mean,
Because it's a big project.
I'm not actually looking for closure, because I think we kind of need to weigh in what we have at this point. Perhaps take the time to think about everything that's been presented to this far and all the information that we've been given this far. So maybe take a look at it, consider it. So, Mr. Moore,
Madam Chair,
yes.
At this point, if everything has been brought up, at least my motion to maintain the public hearing open, so that in case someone couldn't get our issues on the screen, or maybe somebody didn't know the information, maintain it open for public, and also for Mr. O'Rourke's interest, in case he has something else he'd like to add, we continue it until another meeting, so we can digest it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Wallman, we have a second by Mr. Coleman. Do we have a further discussion? So all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved. And be it noted that Mr. Biella had to leave the meeting as he starts work in 7 minutes. So. Yeah, so he left at, he left at 9:40. Okay, yeah, so we'll come back to this again only because I think we just have to just tell us our thoughts here. We've been given a lot from the public and from you. Thank everyone for that participation.
To
But
make
we
a
will
fair,
continue.
to make a fair
to, yeah, we have to make a good
Probably
decision.
more information like the
Yeah,
about food
exactly.
trucks and pork pies.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so, see you next go around.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna circle on back because I know we had a special, a special site plan permit application for Manhattan, Stephen John, and, for the Barber Academy and Bar Shop. So, thank you for your patience, yes, you are up. Yeah, sorry for the delay, but please. Well, yeah, we chased you here.
Or
We get 7 minutes, we can make it quick.
There are participants on the phone, or on the screen. We have three participants. One of them is our zoning officer, but we have three participants.
Okay, all right. Yes, hi, welcome. How's
Good
it
evening to
going?
everyone, very good. I'm sorry the way I moved. I came right out of the building where I was working.
Yeah, I see
So-
it, you're doing lots of good stuff.
Yes, for you guys, I don't know if everybody knows me or not, my name is Merhan. I'm known as MC Barber. I'm the owner of MC Barber Academy and MC Barber Shop. Currently, we have Academy in Middletown Main Street and a shop in Weathersfield on Celestine Highway. Our goal for 1427 is to open there a barber spa and a barber academy. Barber spa will be the first barber spa that I know of in Connecticut where guys can go and get their hair done and your manicure and your pedicure and your facials. I was number 2 in the world barber in men's hairstyling, multiple times with US champion. So I was looking for a place where I can grow. And I think this is a perfect spot. It's 1.1 acre. We can grow here. Right now, the building is only 1,800 square feet. We are doing both in that small area. However, our goal is to move the school out of that and build hopefully next year in the concrete that you see there, that foundation is already there, if the business goes as we planned. So far, we put a new roof. We pretty much are really remodeling the whole place. We are not changing much of the landscaping. However, we are fixing the parking, like paving it and then putting just a, but it's going to be the same parking. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions for me. Feel free. I wasn't even aware too much of this meeting. My brother was the one that's supposed to be part of it. However, you guys had a problem with the Zoom and he called me and I basically dropped the tools and I came here.
Yeah, but the vice chair brings up a very important point, is that I believe that you were before this commission once before, and did we not approve this application before? Yes, Maureen.
I thought we did, but for some reason.
I'm gonna give you a little background. They came before the commission to change the zoning regulations to allow vocational schools in the zone. And the records I have show that that's done, and that they were going to return when they had some plan.
I mean,
All right.
perfect spot.
If I can.
I honestly think this is a perfect spot.
I'm glad to see something happening in the building besides rain coming through the roof after the fire.
I've been actually working there since May every day. I work in my barber shop since June. And after work, I go there on the weekend, basically we are moving. However, there is certain things that are holding us back. The contractors,
To get some
American
gas.
Natural Gas, I don't know if you guys can run.
No, I wish we could.
Second in the world?
Huh?
You won second in the world as a stylist, or?
Yeah, I'm an American team for the world competition.
There you go. Now you know where to go.
You're using a hammer now, that's not go through your hands and good for that competition.
Well, we are not competing this year because of COVID, but next year we'll be competing in Japan.
But he's got that spot they want, so he's also.
So this is.
Anyway, so Maureen, what do we need to help them out with?
Well, if I can, for the record, I'd like to explain that this site was improved and developed, and with an approved site plan. My understanding is they're just looking to recreate that site plan and clean up that site plan, so it would basically remain as the existing site plan. There is some parking shown that probably meets the regulations, but it's not clear on the approved, one of the sketchy approved plans from several bunches of years ago. The original plan was like the 90s. So I would suggest that any approval be contingent upon the striping, any new striping or anything be done by staff review in conformance with size-wise. That plan has more than adequate parking. Part of the building that was originally, not originally there, but eventually there is gone. So the square footage and the parking is presumably much less, although Barber schools are not, vocational schools don't have a deliberate parking. There is parking noted for colleges. From their proposal, it appears that approximately 15 for employees and students, and then if they are going to be open to the public, given the number of chairs, another 10 or so, so figure there'd be a maximum of 25 or so neat by rough calculations, and they have well in excess of that shown on the plan and available on the site. The staff comments that are in my report, and the only one I would add to is noting a notation that there is unsightly materials dumped kind of in the back of the site, etc., and noting that it would become a zoning violation once construction was completed, etc., if the project was stalled again, as happened with the last people that were cleaning it up. So I just wanted to note that there was really no changes. Except Chris has something.
Lot better with a steam machine, thank
I think, as I understand it, there may be some business modeling that they've been playing that would include having beverage service, not liquor, but coffee and probably smoothies or something.
So basically, the idea
But
was.
for pay,
I mentioned to Chris, basically traveling around the world in the barber competition and visiting schools and shops. I saw in Europe they had a unique situation where they have a barber shop, they have a school, and a coffee shop next to it. So the clients wait, they can sit in the patio, have a coffee, have sweets and stuff like that. So it's one of the things that I'm really thinking to put there as well.
Well, it should be a restaurant.
Not really restaurant, more of just like a
Well, you know,
coffee shop.
honestly, if you go into a lot of the hairdressing places now, well, before this COVID nonsense, they serve coffee and teas and stuff like that, and they usually have a
So basically, I'm sure guys, if you've been actually driving by, you've seen that we actually added a patio because we're opening the door where the windows are. And we are making the whole place really with the regulations of COVID-19, you know, like honestly, you can just come down and see, you know, when it's open, we're gonna try.
I can't wait for the ribbon cut. I mean,
Honestly-
not my hair, the ribbon cutting.
Honestly, me too. I can't wait to finish this project.
Yeah.
But I think you guys are gonna be proud to have us in the town, and I really mean it. I'm not just trying to sell you my business, but you know.
Yeah, Maureen.
I would suggest if that's the case, if they decide to expand to the point of cafe tables and things and pay service, that perhaps we bring it back as a discussion item to determine if it meets as an accessory, is typical, or if it would need to be required to come to back to the commission for review.
All right, no, we have the mark hearing, so is there anyone who wants to address the commission regarding this particular application? Now would be the time.
Okay, really quick, I've worked with them since 2018, early 2019, is back in making the application, the best jobs, education, training, international awards, it's gonna be awesome.
All right, thank you, Chris. And from the public, anyone who's dialing in, who's with us still, wants to address. All right.
Just wake them up.
Anyone? Okay, that's it. All right, so
They're
hearing done now.
Make a motion to close the hearing.
A motion to close by Mr. Woolman, second by Mr. Rogan. Any discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on to old business. Stay right where you are. special site plan application for Greenhound, Johnny, okay, for the Barbershop Academy at 1427 Berlin Turnpike. Commission,
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit slash site plan at 1427 Berlin Turnpike, subject to staff to meet the requirements of any expansion.
okay, good. Roman has the motion, second by Ms. Jorsy for the discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion moved.
Can't wait till you're done.
All right.
Me
And
too,
then-
believe me.
Good. you
I
start.
honestly thank you people very much, and I'm honestly.
I'm just sorry you got delayed.
No, it's.
No, yeah. I'm sorry it got delayed.
The people I've been working with,
Looks like
contractors,
Chris
told
was
me to be
a
very
good
patient, so what you guys
Yeah, we're fine, okay. And then, wait, special.
You're all set.
We have the site plan application for Thomas O'Rourke, we have that table, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Am I all set?
You're set, you're good to go. Approval of the minutes for August 20th. We have
Thank
you
you
guys
folks
have a
very
chance
much.
to look
Thank you.
through the approval of minutes?
Make a motion to approve it.
Thank you, Mr. Sigma. Motion to approve the minutes, August 20th by Mr. Sigma. Do we have a second? And second by Ms. Jorsy. Further discussion on those? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Also move. I have an adjournment.
Motion to
Come on,
adjourn.
come on, people.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll give it to Ms. Jorsy, give the second to Mr. Woolman.
Thank you.
And so for it's 10:07 PM. For the record, Fran. Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moved.
If you wanna check it out, it's MC Barber online.
Okay.
M.C.Barber.